We work with a lot of large brands that have very distinct voices. And not surprisingly, one of the first concerns that we want to address when we engage in new partnerships is how do we refine the models that are going to be responsible for producing their content to a place where it sounds, and feels like it's coming from, their brand voice. It's very, very important. So I think, early on we saw outputs that sound like what the large language models want to sound like. And there's no tone, there's no character. It's just very, very robotic. Yeah. But as we got into certainly building out the rest of our platform and a lot of our features, brand voice became increasingly clear that if you can't solve for that, you're going to have a very difficult time with some of the use cases that are out there. So for us, content production in the world that's sort of consumer facing and public facing, we had to go after that very, very hard early on. And so, how we did it was through really a pathway of content moderation that encompassed a much larger suite of things. We find errors, what some people might consider sort of misnomered as hallucinations. I've got my own thoughts about that word. It's really just a false positive. It's what the model thinks from a probabilistic standpoint should come next, but it may not be. So we like to call them false positives. They're typically not as wild as sort of the word hallucination goes, but we approached it from an entire content moderation perspective. And so model 1 for us is nailing brand voice. Model 2 for us, and once that is passed there, model 2 for us is sort of syntax and accuracy, making sure that it's saying what it's supposed to say. And then sort of our third model approach in this is around the content structure itself and making sure that from a structural perspective, it's appropriate to go and be sort of placed wherever it's going to be consumer facing. And I think the approach is not just a one model refinement. It's got to be a multi-model system of filters that sort of, it can either start or it can end with brand voice, but you have to satisfy other components in there as well, because we've also found that even if you nail brand voice, there's still other elements that would probably detract from it being welcome to be published.
Right.
But brand voice, I would say, particularly with the brands and the retailers that we work with, is very high up on the list.